So we are on page 7, Ois Beis.
We're like in the red area, like we're like up there with the city.
Yeah, like right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really bad.
It's so lovely to see you here.
It's so lovely to be here.
Now Montreal doesn't have anything. So half of Montreal. Now it's like raining.
I guess it's so nice when everything is married.
Okay, ready to start. Beis. So on the first Ois, here's my mark for those who need more. We have more copies.
Anybody else need?
So in the first Ois, he speaks about the Maila of learning Torah Barabim. And Barabim means in public means at least 10 people together. And when 10 people study together, that's when you have the Shechina. And even though the Shechina is found by even one person studying Torah, but it's a different level of Shechina, a much higher level of Shechina. And what level is it? Yud Gimel Midas Harachman. And then he drew a parallel between learning and davening. Just like in davening, we know that when you daven as an individual, every person believes that Hashem hears them and Hashem will respond to their prayers. And that's why it's a mitzvah to daven. Nevertheless, because one has to be a vessel, a keli, to receive the bracha, there might be certain conditions that because a person is this way or that way, or did something or didn't do something, they might not be a vessel to receive the bracha. But if in their davening they're able to access and connect to Hashem's Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim, 13 attributes of mercy, then that is unlimited Rachmim, unconditional mercy, and normally he might not have been answered, but through the Gimel Rachmim, it is something which even he or she in her situation will be answered. So that's the mind of the Gimel Rachmim in prayer, and the same thing is in learning. When a person learns Torah, we are able to bring down Hashem's Gimel Rachmim, which means the effect of learning and the Shechina that's there is from a higher place, a place that's infinite. And we know that infinite compared to finite is not just a little bit higher and not even a lot higher, but it's totally a different category of existence, infinite. Mm-hmm.
When a woman goes to a place where there's a minion, is she part of that?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 10 women in the women's section. But
No,
she's part of the
no,
men's section.
part of the minion, right? Beis. And when the Rebbe spoke about learning in Yana Mashiach Gula, the Rebbe added that not only is it important to learn Yana Mashiach Gula, but to make sure that people learn together in a group, at least a minyan. And he added that even people who would rather learn themselves over the Chavrusa, because then they could learn it more in depth and it's more connected to their personal understanding. Nevertheless, they should also find a time, either once a week or once in a while, that they're learning and they're part of a group learning because of the maila that there is when people learn together with the minyan. Yeah.
Would you say that it's more important to understand the material, or it's more important to have bracha?
More important to understand. Yeah.
But if they understand more, so you say that like they should find a time between the time that they study in Chavruta, they need to find
Right. Even if I have a chavrusa, but I should at least be part of a group learning once in a while. Those who study Torah in general, and those who teach Torah specifically, they are called Netura Karta. Some people hear the word Netura Karta, they turn pale. Yeah, but Netura Karta is a group of people in Eretz Yisrael, very extreme, sometimes violent, do things that are really wild, and not something which most people approve of. It's mainly their fight against Zionism and their fight against anything, tznius, and so on and so forth. But actually, they didn't invent the name Netura Karta. It comes from, like everything else, everything has a source in Gemara. So this term is found in Gemara, and the bottom has the reference where it is, number 6. And the words Netura Karta are actually Aramaic. Karta in Aramaic means the city, and Netura Karta means the guards of the city, those that protect the city. So they consider themselves that they protect the city by beating up everybody that doesn't follow what they say. Someone told me yesterday that who told this me? I forgot. The robots got together that we have to kill all the humans to protect the universe. People are worried about robots, artificial intelligence. They're going to get together and say they have to destroy the world to protect it. So the term Netura Karta means those who are protecting the city. Who are those that are protecting the city? Those who learn Torah and those who teach Torah. And that's because they draw down Yud Gimel Rachmat with Torah study. But an Ikerhu, even though it is accomplished in general, through Torah in general, but the Iker, it's more and primarily through learning Torah when you learn in a group. You, when Tefillah, will understand this from davening. Being that we're now comparing learning to davening, drawing that parallel, draw the parallel in this inyan as well. Tefillah is something which is going from down up. Tefillah is Isrusa L'Tata, Isrusa L'Leila. So we know in Chassidus we have these two terms. Isrusa L'Tata means an awakening, an arousal from below. Isrusa L'Leila means an arousal from above. And there's two things. There's always an arousal from below, arousal from above. The question, though, is what is the order? How do things happen? In some areas, it first has to be arousal from below and then an arousal from above. And in some areas, there's an arousal from above and then there's an arousal as a result of that, there's something below. For example, this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha has something very unique, and that is the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni. Famous words in Shtakim V'Palm, it's never too late. But how did Pesach Sheni come about? All the mitzvahs came about that Moshe Rabbeinu came from the mountain, gave over the mitzvahs. Then he went down and started to teach them this mitzvah, that mitzvah, the other mitzvah. And Pesach Sheni was not taught. He didn't give it to them. Even though it's all prepared, Hashem prepared this to be part of Torah. It's one of the 613 mitzvahs. But it wasn't given to us. Hashem was waiting for something. What was he waiting for? For the Yidden to ask for it. And that's in this week's Parsha, where I talked yesterday's Chitas, where it says that the Yidden came to Moshe and they said, Lama Nigora, why should we be worse than all other Jews? Everybody else had the opportunity to bring the Korban Pesach, but we, because we were Tamei, we were impure, we couldn't do it. And Moshe said, let me speak to Hashem, And Hashem said, yes, their argument, their demands are justified, and therefore I'm giving them another mitzvah, Pesach Sheni, they can make up for it. This is the Pesach Sheni concept that the Rebbe always brings regarding Ad Masai, that there are certain things that Hashem doesn't give us until we ask for it. And one of them is Pesach Sheni. So one of these things is also Mashiach. That's why the Rebbe always speaks about the importance of Ad Masai. We have to ask. So this is called Isrusa de Tata, leads to Isrusa de Leila. Then there are other things where it's the other way around. First, Hashem does something, which is an arousal from above. And as a result of that, let's say when Hashem performs a miracle, something happens very exciting to a person. As a result of that, he gets all excited and he becomes inspired to do something with Hashem and towards Hashem. So davening is, generally speaking, considered mamata l'mayla. Why? Because davening is all about me reaching out to Hashem, me working on developing a feeling of love and fear of Hashem, me asking Hashem for what I need, and after that and through that, Hashem gives me gashmis and ruchnis, all the things that I need. And when that happens, so when things are in the order of first Isusa de Tata and then Isusa de Leila, if what's coming from above is a result of what I did down here, then what comes from above will be measured according to what I did down here. To use the example of a person who earns money through working, there's two ways to get money. More, but two general ways. One is that you work for it and you get paid for the work you did. And the other is someone decides to give you a gift. When you work and you get paid, the amount of money you get is measured according to the work. Whether you worked for a week, you worked for a month, what kind of work did you do? Depending on that, that's how much money you get. Someone who gives you a gift, it's not because you did any work, it's because they decided to give you a gift. So that will usually depend on their capacity. Somebody who's wealthier will give a bigger gift. Someone who's not so wealthy will give a smaller gift. It's not the recipient's capacity, it's the giver's capacity more. So davening is about the Susa del Tata, Susa del Leila. And therefore, let's say the words again, Lifi Oifen and Susa del Tata, according to the Susa del Tata, Kachi Susa, that's how it comes from above. But Tfilas Harabim, so what's different when you daven Barabim, when you daven with a minion? Basharab, Madei Tfilas, Mamshichim, Aidei, Halos Man Shalahem, Susa del Leila, Shlei Lifi Erech, Halos Shalahem. They're able to bring down a Susa del Leila, which means a response from above that's going to be not measured according to the response from below. As if to say you worked for someone for a month, and instead of paying you for a month's work, they pay you for a year or 10 years. So basically, when a person davens b'rabim, what Hashem gives us is much more than would be measured according to the effort that I made. The word halos man is a word in term in Kabbalah, but it's also used a lot in Chassidus. So it's the same thing as Usrusa de Latata. Halos man is the same thing, but in more Kabbalistic terms. Zehu Mailas Filas Rabim. So this is the advantage in davening Barabim. With the minyan, Shesrusa de Leila, that what comes from above, Hiloi Lefi Erech Shesrusa de Tata. It's not measured, not limited according to the initiative that I took. It's much more than that. This was the passage we brought before, which it says in Gemara, is referring to davening with a minyan. That when a person davens with a minyan, their prayers, lo yimos, will not be rejected. If the response from above would be measured according to how much I put in, it wouldn't be appropriate to say, lo yimos, it's not rejected, because it does depend on me. So it could be rejected, or Hashem would not give me if I am not worth it and deserve it. Being that I'm achieving this, of course it'll be measured according to what I put in. Ella Tfilas Rabim. So what is Tfilas Rabim? Let's turn the page. I'm shachish leidafercha lo yishumaylas Rabim. It's interesting. For many years, actually for all the years from the start, one of the things in the Chassid Rebbe relationship, and in a certain sense, not only one of the things, but to a certain extent, this is perhaps the highlight, the highest point in the Chassid Rebbe relationship. And that is when the Chassid has the opportunity to go into the Rebbe's room and have a private audience with the Rebbe, ask the Rebbe a personal question about his personal path, how to serve Hashem. For a Chassid, this was sort of the highest point, because he learns the Rebbe's Maimer, he'll go to the Rebbe's Farbrengen, he watches the Rebbe by davening, hakafes, all these things, but it's all in a general way. But here is really the personal relationship between me and my Rebbe. In fact, the word Yechidus in Hebrew means private. It's a private audience. But it says in the Sichos, there's a deeper meaning, and that is, this is the time, this is the moment where my Yechida and the Rebbe's Yechida meet. In other words, the essence of a chassid and the essence of a Rebbe, we always believe the Rebbe looks after every individual. But when I'm in the Rebbe's room, I know the Rebbe is thinking about me specifically right now. And by me, this is all I have on my mind right now. Everything else is shut out. I'm just focused on the Rebbe. And this is the Rebbe gives me my guidance, gives me my path, how I'm personally supposed to serve Hashem. In addition to all the general teachings, everyone has a specific path that they need to follow. And that's what the Rebbe is giving me. So this is the highest point in a chassid's relationship with the Rebbe. But there was a change. When did the change start? A little bit it started Tafshin Lamed Ches. That was after the Rebbe had the heart attack. And then it went back to personal private yechidus. And then it sort of became more limited. And maybe it was the early 80s where the Rebbe stopped meeting people in personal yechidus. So what is yechidus? People, years ago it used to be that every year, once a year, on your birthday, you go and have a private yechidus with the Rebbe. Once a year, that stopped. Yechidus was only for guests. Guests who came from other countries for Yontiv, they would have yechidus, but the yechidus wasn't private yechidus anymore. It was grown as a group, which means, and the group is huge, so instead of them going to the Rebbe's room, the Rebbe would come downstairs. Everybody was asked to leave the shul, and the Rebbe would speak just to that group that's there, men and women, men standing on one side, women on the other side, and the Rebbe spoke to the guests. The other group that got yechidus were Chassanim and Kalas. Bracha told the Chassanim and all the Kalas. Only they were in the room at the time. The Rebbe spoke to them. And then another group the Rebbe spoke to was Bar Mitzvah. Children became Bar Mitzvah. What? Not Bas Mitzvah. It's an interesting thing that the Rebbe's secretary always said, no, not Bas Mitzvah. But whenever the Rebbe spoke about the Bar Mitzvah to the Bar Mitzvah boys, he always spoke about Bas Mitzvah also. But he wouldn't let us in for Bas Mitzvah, only Bar Mitzvah. I'm talking about the secretary. Yeah.
I'm just, was there a relation of the prophecy for each person in different levels depends on his nifida? Like someone's like higher, less, more.
Well, again, in terms of the Rebbe's involvement, dedication, and connection, the Rebbe's connection to every person is absolutely complete. It's like the Rebbe once told someone, a lot of people wrote about their Yechidus experience. I remember somebody wrote this, he said that, when did people go into Yechidus? It started 8 o'clock at night, but there were a lot of people, so it went on, sometimes till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Tishrei was really the most. I still remember coming to yeshiva 7:30 in the morning to learn Chassidus, and the Yechidus was still going on from the night before, 7:30 in the morning. But people would walk into the Rebbe's room, let's say 3 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't easy, Like this guy writes that he was from England and it was very hard for him to start there. He goes to sleep on time and everything's on time. So he was getting tired. He went home, he took a shower, he slept a little bit, took a shower, got already. He was told that he's going to see the Rebbe somewhere in the middle of the night. He said he walked into the Rebbe's room, the Rebbe had a broad smile on his face. The Rebbe's face was radiating, shining, singing to himself. He went to sleep, he took a shower, and he's still tired. And the Rebbe is sitting here for hours talking to people. So whether it was him or it was another person, the Rebbe said to him that you're probably thinking, I think his number was 100. Everyone had a number, your number 100. So you're thinking that being that you're number 100, so it's 100th of me now communicating with you, 100th, because I had to communicate with 99 other people. The Rebbe said to him, that's not the way it is, but just like from your end, you're completely into this. So from my end, I'm completely into this. In other words, it's not a 99th or 100th part of me speaking to you, but it's me in a complete way.
100%.
Right. So therefore, but the Rebbe would speak to each chassid, knowing each chassid what the neshama is, what their purpose is, why they're here in this world. He would give us guidance, whether you should be a doctor, whether you should be a teacher, whether you should be a businessman, whether you should be living here, whether you should go to another country. All this was not based on, research on the internet. It was based on knowledge of your neshama and what your shlichus is in this world. So when that started, there were people, not everybody, but certain people who had a close relationship with the Rebbe, that they took the liberty to make that request. Rebbe, I would really like to have a private, personal Chassidus with you, like it used to be. And we missed it. So the Rebbe told him, who tells you that that's better? Maybe this is actually better. And at one occasion, the Rebbe explained it to someone based on similar to what it says here. You go into Chassidus, you're asking for a bracha, you're asking for direction. So when people go in as a group, there's a much greater schus, and there's much more potential for your request to be answered than if you would come in as an individual. And also from the Rebbe's end, apparently the Rebbe could do much more for you when you come in as a group. There's a story with the Baal Shem Tov that he used to daven Shmona Esrei, the Amidah, very long. His students would finish much more before him. I'm not sure about the numbers. Let's assume it took him 3 hours to daven. And the students finished davening after 2 hours, Shmona Esrei. What do? They waited till the Rebbe finished. One time, someone came up with this idea that we're just sitting here for an hour or two waiting. Our families are waiting at home to eat the Shabbos meal. You know what? Maybe we know that it always takes our Rebbe much longer. So when we finish our Shemona, so we can go home to eat and then come back before the Rebbe finishes. So that we'll use the time. And that's similarly what they did. I guess there was still a minyan in the room, but a lot of the students went out and then they came back later. When they came back, the Baal Shem Tov already finished Manasseh much earlier and was waiting for them. They were embarrassed. And they didn't understand it. It was so unusual. So he gave them a mashal. The mashal was that somebody wants to get into a building. The doors are locked. The only way to get into the building, there's a window all the way on the top of the wall, very high up. You don't have a ladder. How do I get there? So they made a human ladder. What's a human ladder? You have a few people on the bottom standing, then a few people climb up on their shoulders, and then others climb up on their shoulders and on their shoulders, and the guy on top goes into the window. So it takes time for this group to go onto their shoulders, and the next group to go onto their shoulders, and the next group to go onto their shoulders. So the guys on the bottom are saying to themselves, we're waiting all this time, we're not doing anything, we're just standing here. So we'll go home to eat lunch while they climb up there. But as soon as they leave, everybody comes crashing down. Meaning to say that the reason why the Baal Shem Tov said he's able to climb to where he's climbing is because you're all here in the room with me.
Wow.
So therefore, when you walked out, he came crashing down, and metaphorically speaking. So basically, when there's a lot of people together, you're able to reach in a much higher place, a place which is infinite. And it's no longer If you would be alone, you might not have been merited to get this bracha. And now that you get it with a group, you're merited to get a much greater bracha. Yeah.
When it comes to learning in a minyan or learning in a group, is it just that like 10 or more people are in the same room learning? Could they all be broken up into 5 different purposes? Like, or should it be all of them learning the same thing?
Right. It's like when the Rebbe spoke about learning Rambam. It's another example, learning Rambam. But they're not all in the same room. But the fact that everybody together is learning the same thing is also a form of 10 people learning together. Because so there's different ways of combining. You could all be in the same room, like in a yeshiva, everybody's sitting by their own table with their own chavrusa and learning, but they're in the same room. Or they can be sitting by the table like we're doing now, and we're all learning one subject together. But it's mainly, I guess, 10 people together in a room. And this has the power, like the davening of one individual. This is Rabbi. When is there a time for an individual who's not with the minyan that he's able to accomplish that same thing? The answer is the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. That's the unique time. It's a very unusual time that even in the individual could draw down Hashem's 13 attributes of mercy, which means that that's something that comes around only once a year. But throughout the year, it has to be a group. So we know Aseres Tshuva is our exceptional days. They're unique. This is a time where your tshuva is accepted different than any other time of the year. Why? Because then we can access you giving me the Sarachim. That's why it's only these 10 days. That's a time of an Eis Ratzon. So we know there's a concept called Eis Ratzon. Actually, it's a lashon of a pasuk. Anyone remember it anywhere in davening somewhere? The word Eis Ratzon? I think everybody here says it every day. Atovu Alecha Yaakov, Shknesech Yisrael. Most of you probably say it. Keep going. Anisu Asilucha Hashem Eis Ratzon. We're asking Hashem that my prayer should be accepted by Eis Ratzon. Eis Ratzon means an auspicious moment, auspicious time, which means that there are certain times that Hashem is more open to receive my request, to receive whatever effort I'm making, but that's not the norm. It's an Eis Ratzon. It has to be something special going on that therefore, so Aseres Tshuva is that Eis Ratzon. So clearly that's a time you can accomplish and it could be received in a way, it's a little bit similar to what we learn about Elul. Remember the thing about the king in the field? You're all year round. Who can get into the king's palace? Who are you? What is your request? What do you need to see the king? And very few people, only people who have a special position in the government, have special reason would be accepted. But when the king goes out to the field, first of all, he's different. He's much more casual. He's more open. He meets his people, smiles to everybody, and everybody can approach him. So there's certain times in the year where Hashem is more approachable than other times. And one of them is Aseres Tshuva. And here we're comparing davening with the minyan like Aseres Tshuva. Yeah.
So you're saying that an individual during that time has the same power as any other time during the year with a minyan?
Right.
It's equivalent.
Right. So the Rebbe once said, so one would say, so now I don't have to daven with the minyan. So he said, no, imagine if you alone have the same power, so you daven with the minyan. It's even, right, yeah, it's a mega power, yeah. Okay, this is all about davening. Now he's going to apply the same principles to learning. The same would be applied to Torah. Torah in general is considered Momayla Lamata. It's not something which is Momata Lamaila like when it comes to davening. Davening is a request asking Hashem for certain things, and then Hashem responds. But Torah is Hashem's wisdom that was given to us. So Hashem gave it to us in our Sinai. He presented it to us. And that's the way it is when we learn. There's Hashem's wisdom. And I want to open myself up that Hashem's wisdom should be absorbed in my brain. Nevertheless, by Torah, you also need a certain degree of an arousal from below. It has to be some sort of an effort coming from my part. So why is learning not considered mamayla? There are things which are mamayla lamata completely, which means things that you make no effort and it comes from above. For example, we know the story of Kriyas Yamsuf that when the sea was before the sea split, everybody knows the famous Sikh of the Rebbe, that the Yidden were divided among themselves in 4 groups. One group said, let's go back to Mitzrayim. One group said, let's go and fight with them. One group said, give up, let's just jump into the water and forget it. And one group said, let's daven. All good ideas. Not all, most of them. So Moshe Rabbeinu answered each one of these groups and said to them, no, you'll never see Mitzrayim again. And then he said to them, Siyatzvu, which means stand. Don't even think about jumping into the water. By the way, it meant jumping into the water out of despair. And then the one that said that we will go to war with them, he said not to do any of that. And then the group that said to daven, the pasuk says, Atem tachrishon, be silent. That means don't daven. And the question is, okay, not to go to war with them, not to jump into the water, not to return to Egypt as slaves, but why not daven? So the Zohar says, Loi tisarun midi, which means don't make any isrusa delatata. Why? Because what's going to happen now, what's going to be coming down now from above, is a isrusa dela'ela that no isrusa delatata can access it. And it has to come from above. And for this to come from above, just be sort of silent and just be open to receive. Because anything you do is irrelevant, because this is above anything you can possibly do. That means it's Mamayla Lamata. We are even told, don't even daven. Don't make any effort. Just stand and open up to receive. But with Torah, even though it's from Hashem, but still, what do we know about learning? You're supposed to work hard. We just had that recently, how the Eibishter wants us to labor when it comes to Torah study and to work hard to understand. So we can't say it's not Mamata Lamaila, it is from our end. So why do we call it Mamaila Lamata? Why is Torah always used as an example of something comes from above? Because when you learn Torah, what comes from above is infinitely greater, immeasurable, greater than what you put in. So by the way, this is the meaning of something that you all know, and maybe you wondered about it, but one of my Maimar Chazal that the Rebbe said to teach children, they should know it by heart, is Yogaiti v'lo matzasi. If someone says, I worked hard and I didn't find, don't believe him. If someone says, I didn't work hard and I found, don't believe him. If someone says, I worked hard and I found, then believe him. So why can't it be? There are people who are very smart, they're actually brilliant, they're geniuses, and they could accomplish things without working hard. Why can't it be? You ever think of that question? So the answer is exactly what it says here in the Maimer. It doesn't mean that they can't understand. Of course, you have a good head, you're brilliant, you're smart, you're a genius. You could learn without working hard. Something that takes another person 10 hours to figure out, you figure it out in 10 minutes. It means to be able to achieve in learning such knowledge and achieve such, to reach such inyanim which are immeasurably greater than the effort that I put in, that only comes when you work hard. That's what it means. In fact, that's why it uses the word amatsasa. You will find. I worked hard and I found. I didn't work hard and I found. I found without working hard. I always use the term I found. Why? When you find something in the street, it's never something which is measured according to your efforts. You can walk down the street and pick up a diamond that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. It has nothing to do with your effort. Like how many times you walk back and forth on the street. You know, a lot of kids have this nature. They're looking, maybe they'll find treasures on the street. You know, they'll find a little rock, a little stone. They'll find a dollar bill. Doesn't usually happen. But if you find something that has nothing to do with what you did, you just happen to find it. It's not measured according to anything you're doing. That's what it means. To achieve in Torah in a way of a matzasa, that's a result of working hard labor. So the Rebbe is saying